So, looking at Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, a lot of people have given their opinion about this issue, and I think we should all look at it. The stewards were not fooled this time because these guys are young drivers. When we had Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, then they are from different ages, different times. That was the same thing that almost happened during Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso. No top driver want to come to a Grand Prix to come second or third. When you are coming second, third, downward, you are already not in the mood. It takes a high-spirited driver to be coming to a Grand Prix knowing you cannot win and keep giving it everything it takes. And that is why I keep giving it to Nico Hülkenberg for the kind of person he is. He comes to drive. And I'll give it also to some few drivers like Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon. They come to drive, though Esteban Ocon has his own negatives. But no driver is coming to a Grand Prix to come second or third. They want to win, especially when they are leading. So when we look at Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, they are from different ages, different orientation. So the way they think differs. I think that was why the battle was so intense, because they don't really know themselves. And Max Verstappen is somebody that is so crude in the way he drives, not crude too negatively, but like I just want to win. I'm not giving you space, and he knows how to tilt his angle a little. Likewise, Lewis Hamilton. When Lewis Hamilton has had some tussles with him in 2021, and he gave in, but at a point in time, it was like, I'm not giving in to this guy. Whatever it is, I'm not giving it to this guy. To hell with it. I think for the young drivers that are in the top now, they need to really understand how to race Max Verstappen. They really need a rule book to race him. And should I say we need a rule book to start racing each other? I think it's wrong. Rules are there in Formula 1 for us to be able to adhere, to understand, and to be able to race fairly. But when you have to have a special rule book to race a different driver, then there's a problem. Now, if you look at the incident, because a lot of people have analyzed, entering the turn 3, Max Verstappen has closed up that line totally. But because Lando Norris was carrying a whole lot of speed at that point in time, because he really needs to overtake Max Verstappen at that point. If it was Max Verstappen, he would have done the same thing. In that race yesterday, we saw a lot of drivers in that same position, but they gave themselves space. But Max Verstappen was not ready to give space and was not ready to yield. He said it himself. He didn't come to the Grand Prix to come second. He's come to win, and he'll do everything to win. And I think compromising another driver to win is the biggest mistake and a huge thing to do to win another driver's race. When we look at Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, they had the same issue some 10-20 laps before Max Verstappen and Lando Norris race, close to close point race started. When they had that same issue, it was looked into, and Esteban Ocon was given a penalty, if you remember. Esteban Ocon ran his teammate off the track, totally off the same thing Max Verstappen did. But because Pierre Gasly was not carrying the same speed Lando Norris was carrying, people are blaming DRS. Now, should we remove DRS from racing, or should we remove DRS from like 2 of the 3 points that we have DRS in Austria? How would the race be? It will become shambolic, it will become nonsense. The effect of DRS is for you to be able to overtake, give you some 19 to 20 kilometers extra to be able to power extra to be able to overtake somebody else. When the tussle started, Lando Norris knows he's going to get a 5-second penalty because he had that 3 strikes, and those 3 strikes were around that same particular time that he had the advantage of getting close to Max Verstappen. So he incurred 3 penalties, in which Max Verstappen purposely knew that it would make him incur those penalties. He has gotten a strike, a black and white flag, then the penalty is coming. Max Verstappen gave him the penalty because he had on the line that this guy had 3 strikes already, and there's a black and white flag for him. So he made that mistake, and he was looking at, if he made that mistake, he wouldn't do it again. So when he saw Lando Norris doing that same thing, want to overtake him by force, he had to play the game that you are going to get 5-second penalty, and now let me push you again. That was what he did, and that is racing. That is tactical, but it is not sensible. Now, if you look at it this way, should Max Verstappen had given Lando Norris the chance to overtake, he had pushed him over the track limit, he's going to take a 5-second penalty, then he should stay within the 5 seconds so that he can win the race. No, he wanted to win the race on the track. Now, wanting to win the race on the track ruined both races. Now, a lot of people are blaming Red Bull, and some people are blaming Lando Norris. I won't blame Lando Norris because he also should not come to the race to come second. That is sensible. Nobody should come to come second. He's come to win, and he had the chance, the opportunity to win. Why should he not give it a go? He's giving it a go, and somebody else is ruining his race. And I think everybody should look at it in a sensible way. Max Verstappen is a good driver, but Red Bull is not showing standard composure the way races should be. Red Bull are not showing it, and they are making race feel like it's a do or die affair. You must die on the racetrack. Now, if you look at Kimi Raikkonen, he has had the same issue with Max Verstappen, and he had complained about Sebastian Vettel, not once, not twice, not 3 times, the same thing. Sebastian Vettel had a lot of collision with him that ruined his race when he was was with Ferrari and Kimi Raikkonen also, but Sebastian Vettel had more of the two. But Lewis Hamilton had the most intense battle with him that really were like close to life demanding, that nearly took their lives. If you remember Silverstone and if you remember Imola in 2021, if there was no halo and the tire had bashed Lewis Hamilton's head, he would have died. If there were no barriers and Max Verstappen's car had run into metal, he would have died in 2021. I think racing should be fair, racing should be sensible, and I think for people saying Max Verstappen is not to be blamed, is to be blamed, I would say that 100%, because we don't need to kill ourselves. We don't need drivers dying because somebody decided to run them off or take an advantage. Max Verstappen in that race was moving more than twice. In the last 4 laps prior to the accident, he was moving more than once on the braking. On that lap that it happened, he moved to squeeze Lando Norris. He moved again. When he was turning in, he opened the steering again to the left. He opened the steering. It was seen. The steward saw it. He opened it to the left. They were on boards. He opened it to the left. And that ruined Lando Norris's race and almost ruined his own race. But now, nobody will say, hey, 10-second penalty, he still came 5th. No. The steward should look into this in Silverstone. Talk about, let us know, like they said, penalties will be incurred in so. If you look at 2021 in Brazil, if Lewis Hamilton had gotten close to him when they were turning in, because he was already turning in, he squeezed him out. Not that he forced him out on high speed. Lewis Hamilton had to take evasive action to protect himself. If there were close barriers there, somebody's child could have died. So we should look at racing as these are new ages. We don't need to kill ourselves. We need to race fairly. And I think both of them should just find a way to apologize to each other. The way Max Verstappen is taking it as if he's right, I see it as not a good thing. He should apologize and they should move on with their friendship. They are still young. They can't allow this to destroy their future and their racing. I think they should apologize to each other and move on fairly, squarely, and to make sense. That's all I can say about this. Also, coupled with a lot of mistakes that Red Bull made in their pit stop, it compounded to the issue that Max Verstappen had during the race. And also, I think the Red Bull team should do a lot well in communication, because their communication is bad. Even on team radio, even a blind man can see that Max was at fault. We all know the kind of hard racer Max Verstappen, and they're still saying it was Norris's fault. Hello, Red Bull. You guys are building a bad reputation for yourself, a very bad one. And I think it's high time you guys start looking at what you're doing. Share your opinion on what you feel, and we reanalyze. We talk about, we analyze what you shared. We talk about it, and I'll tell you why I believe and what I know is so by the rules. Thank you. I love you guys. Bye. Cheers.